Welcome to Behind the Lava Lava, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the vibrant people and cultures of the Pacific. This episode is brought to you by Matai, a luxury timepiece brand that embodies the essence of the Pacific Islands. I'm your host, Michael Tan. So before we get started, a quick reminder to our listeners to follow, subscribe, and leave a review if you enjoy the show. Now let's jump straight into it. Today we will be talking about the Frontline Heroes Home Ownership Program. Joining me today is Dan Taylor, Mark Moyes, and Tony Acosta. Tarofa, how are you guys doing?
Doing great, Michael. Thank you so much. We appreciate you having us on your show. It is an honor to be here.
Happy to be here, Michael. Thanks for having us.
I appreciate the time to spend some time with you, Michael. Thank you very much.
So we'll start with Dan. Just briefly introduce yourself before we get into the program.
Sounds good. Thank you. My name is Dan Taylor. I'm known as the Grandpa Realtor. I've been pushing homes out for about almost 3 decades now. So I've had a lot of experiences. I love working with veterans and try to do as much for them as I can. We put this program together for that specific purpose.
How about you, Mark?
Yeah, thank you. So I guess they say that being in real estate in the mortgage world is like doing dog years here. So I guess I can beat Dan with his number of 30 years of 140 years total, but really close to 20 years in the mortgage world. So been a lot of fun. Been a fun ride.
Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, so I've been in the mortgage industry also just about 12 years. So we've all been in it for at least a decade. And yeah, I mean, as Dan mentioned, one of the things that we want to do is create resources and tools and programs for specific individuals. And so often in the real estate industry, I often say we're kind of vanilla ice cream and we want to be everything for everybody. But the reality is there's a lot of great resources for veterans out there that I've known a lot of veterans, and sometimes they don't even know the kinds of benefits that they could have. And so this was an idea that Dan had that we, jump behind it immediately because I think that it's a tremendous program with great benefits. And, I've seen few like these. And I know that Dan's intention and Mark's and mine as well is to just give back, to give back to these frontline heroes that serve our country, that keep us safe, and that basically give their lives so that we can enjoy the freedoms that we enjoy today.
Now let's start from the beginning, the idea, and maybe Dan can start us off. Where did this idea stem from, and what is Frontline Heroes?
The idea came to try and give back to our vets. I've always been an admirer of them. I didn't have the opportunity to serve. My father did. I've had other family members, but I appreciate the sacrifice that they make. Even those that don't go on the front lines, they're all needed and they all serve. So I was trying to figure that out. I spent some time with Tony and we decided to put a new program together, and it's called Frontline Heroes because we like the ones that are out on the front line as well as the ones supporting in the back. Took a little while to kind of roll it together and get Mark involved and put together some incentives for our vets to help them get into home ownership easier with less money involved.
So quick questions. Are you guys veterans, or do you guys have any family members that are veterans?
My father served in World War II on the SS Cumberland Sound. He was on a ship and served the whole war there.
I personally am not a veteran. My father also served. Most recently went to Operation Iraqi Freedom as well as Desert Storm. And remember being a young child while he was deployed, and my mom trying to keep the household together while he was serving our country, learning quite a bit about the pride of being an American. Very grateful for the service that he gave to our country and all those that do serve. It's a tremendous sacrifice, and very appreciative.
Yeah, I'm not a veteran either. My best friend is, though. And, I truly believe that one of the reasons why I have not been forced to go into the military is because of the people in the military that, keep us safe and keep us out of positions where we would have to go out and, fight in battle. And so as Mark mentioned, as Dan mentioned, I think that there's a great appreciation for that because we live here and every day we enjoy these freedoms and we know that they come at a very high cost. And so those that come back, whether it's active military or those that are veterans, we just want to give a little bit of value. It's never going to make up for everything, but we figured if we can put together a program that can have some good incentives, give them some discounts, give them some rebates, give them a little bit of cash back for closing costs or whatever it is, then that can be our little token of appreciation for everything that they do.
So I'll start with Dan and Tony. So for an example, I'm the veteran coming up to you guys, since you guys are realtors. How would you guys pitch the Frontline Heroes program to me? What services are offered with this program?
Great question, Michael. That's what makes this so unique. Not only do we work on giving money back and discounts, but we have some excellent lender who can push anything through. We've got stories we can tell you about that. But most of all, we give them the highest quality service, professional service throughout the whole process. And I think it's a good way for them to not have to have all the stress and all the problems that go along with buying and selling homes. We want to eliminate those because there's plenty of stress in their lives, especially if they're active military. So our goal is to make it a smooth transaction, help them get in with little or no down payment, and help them get a home.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. So there are specific benefits with the program. There are benefits on the realtor side, and then there are benefits on the lender side that Mark will talk about. But in this high interest rate environment, one of the things that a lot of people are struggling with is their new monthly payment. Prices haven't come down the way a lot of people anticipated that they would come down. Rates are still high. They've come down a little bit, but you're still seeing 6s, sometimes 7. So it's still quite high, and affordability in real estate has absolutely declined. And so what is the specific benefit? We as agents are going to contribute 25% of our commission back to the veteran. So they can use that for closing costs. They can use that for rate buy downs. Mark is kind of in charge of seeing how those funds can best be used. But what we've seen is that, depending on the purchase price of the home, we're talking about thousands of dollars. And that can go a long way to helping these buyers have a lower rate, a lower monthly payment, save some cash. If they can, have their closing costs paid for, have a little bit of extra money for furniture, for moving, for whatever it is. We being in this industry recognize that moving is stressful. There's a lot that goes into it, a lot of unforeseen expenses. And so from our end, as the realtors, we're going to contribute 25% of our commission back to the veteran, no strings attached, no questions asked. And then Mark has additional benefits on his end that can provide an even greater savings for these individuals.
So Mark here is our lender. So Mark, could you elaborate more on how you contribute to this program?
Yeah, and the thing is, when we talk about contributions, a lot of times people start thinking of physical things. Really what we found is that people need help with money. And so that's where on my end, I'm able to contribute a 0.5 percentage point towards like what Tony was talking about. There's a lot of ways we can do it, but right now and really frankly has always been the most important thing for individuals is their monthly payment. So there's some really good ways that we can do that permanently. We can work it in temporarily to try to help ease into payments. And really, it's up to our clients on how they want to use those funds. We're not going to tell them, this is how you have to use it. We're just going to provide as many options as we can and allow them to make that choice.
So I'm sure that there's a lot of veteran programs out there that are offered to veterans, especially some of the grants, right? But what makes you guys unique? What makes you stand out and different from others who are also maybe in the same industry that you guys are in?
So a lot of the grants that you're referring to, Michael, have income restrictions. They're going to say that you can only make a certain level of income and still qualify for that program. In addition to that, they are going to have limited funds. If they have funds available, then you can access it. In addition to that, most of them are requiring you to be a first-time home buyer or a veteran, or you have to check a certain box. For us, we are going to help you regardless of any attribute like that. That's what we want to give back, and give back as much as we can.
Like Mark says, there are a lot of different programs out there. Without a doubt, I think that all of them have value. What we want to do is just be able to contribute as much as we can on a dollar per dollar situation. And I think it's having the flexibility of how those funds are used. I think that's also an important layer to this, which, Mark has a ton of experience working with veterans and different scenarios of loan programs and things of that nature. Dan, in the same way, 30 years of experience knowing, okay, what's the best kind of property? Is it a townhome? Is it a condo? This city, that city. And so I think when you combine all of those elements, the experience from Dan and Mark, the elimination of some of the requirements that other programs might have, the high contribution amount, because honestly, we're talking about half a point from Mark, and then we're talking about on our end, 25%. I mean, just to give you an example, if it's a $500,000 house, it's on Mark's side, it's $2,500. And let's say if this is a 3% commission, I didn't go to college, so I'll pull out my calculator. But it's $500,000. Let's say it's a 3% commission, which is pretty normal. That's $15,000. 25% of that is $3,750. So you add the $2,500 from Mark, you're looking at $6,250 that can make a massive difference. And Mark has seen this. He can attest to this. I mean, rate buy downs, buying down points, closing costs. You can basically eliminate most closing costs, if not all of them. And if you can negotiate with the seller, which is one of the things that I'm very good at, the negotiation side, maybe the seller contributes another $5,000. And all of a sudden, there's this pot of money that benefits the buyer in a number of different ways. And so I think that the combination of all of those elements is what makes this program unique and different.
And I'll give credit to Dan and Tony. They are both excellent at negotiating. But think about it like this as well. If you're in a tough environment and you're competing to win a bid on a home with a competing offer, and that client is not asking that seller or that seller to help pay closing costs, or is, and you don't because of this contribution, that's what's going to help you. One of the things that might help you slide into that transaction, because that seller, in their mind, they might net just a little bit more. So that's another way to look at this.
Today's episode is brought to you by Top Gun Home Inspection, a leading home inspection company in Utah. When it comes to home inspections, details matter. That's why Top Gun Home Inspection is committed to providing thorough and meticulous services. From the foundation to the roof, their experienced inspectors leave no stone unturned. They offer a range of services, ensuring that every aspect of your home is safe and up to standard. So, whether you're buying a new home or just want to keep your current one in top shape, trust Top Gun Home Inspection. Remember, a detailed home inspection today can save you from costly repairs tomorrow. Top Gun Home Inspection, where your home's health is our top priority.
So are you guys just rolling out this program? Has it been out for a little bit, or is it fairly new, basically?
It's fairly new, Michael. We've been a while trying to put it together and get all the ducks in a row, but we're rolling it out full time now. I'm taking it out to anybody that I can get an audience with so we can get more of our veterans involved. We would love to have everybody on the program, just so that they can have the advantages that we have. As Tony and Mark said, our goal is to get them into a home with little or nothing down and any type of loan. Mark can do any kind of loan. So we know VAs are great. VA loans are awesome, but they're not always the perfect loan. And if we can do better for the veteran with another type of loan, that's what we do too. It's all about the veterans.
So, Michael, you say, have we just rolled this out? This has been rolling around in the heads for a long time. And it's just now coming to where Dan and Tony have put in a great deal of work to make it happen. So I'm grateful to be a part of it.
So I know it just rolled out. What are some biggest challenges that you guys may perceive you might come across, or have you guys come across any challenges at all so far?
Well, obviously, I think the biggest challenge you have is how do we get the word out? Because if people don't know about it, they can't join in. So social media will be great, podcasts like this. I'm also looking to do some visits on base and some other places. So I look for help from anybody that can get me an audience with somebody, because we feel that this program is so good that everybody should have an opportunity to look at it. Maybe they won't take advantage of it, but they ought to have an opportunity to look at it before they do something else.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll double down on that. It is just getting the word out. We've built a well-oiled machine. Mark knows his stuff. Dan knows his stuff. So again, when you combine those elements, it makes for a very dynamic team. But yeah, going out marketing, letting people know, also helping people understand the application of the benefits. Because when someone says, 25% of the commission or half a point of, sometimes it can get lost in translation a little bit. So I think one of the things that we want to do is just make it very plain, very simple, easy to understand, with dollars and cents, what the benefit is going to be, instead of getting into the lingo, which I think often happens in the real estate industry, where all of a sudden we're talking about LTVs and CMAs, we're talking about all these different things. So just make it very easy, simple, straightforward, no strings attached, to be able to help as many people as we can.
What kind of community support do each and every one of you guys need from our community, especially here in Utah?
Well, I think that kind of goes back to what we just said a few minutes ago. We need to get the word out. We need to spread the word. Be community involved, just like your dinner coming up. That is such a great thing. We want to be involved with that so we can spread the word a little more and honor these veterans in every way we can.
Can I say something as a lender? And the real estate agents on this will attest to this. I think in our community, speaking specifically about VA loans, for whatever reason, there's a bad rap on VA loans. And bad rap, whether it's passed down from agents, whether it's passed down from sellers. VA loans, in my humble opinion, are some of the very best loan programs out there, and they are earned. They are ones that are earned, and we need to be able to reward our veterans with those to get the word out from our community to sellers, to listing agents, that VA loans are not this big 800-pound gorilla that's not going to work. They work more than a lot of other loan programs. So that's what I think we need help with, is getting the word out. The VA loans are awesome.
And I'll just wrap up just saying, making ourselves available for the education side. I'm big on this. Dan knows this. I'm a big real estate education guy. If there are people in the community that have these normal questions, and real estate isn't something that we get taught in high school or in college. So if you've never been through this process, there's a lot there that you're just simply not aware of. Often it's you don't know what you don't know. And so something that could help the community is just to know what some of those questions are. What are some of those doubts? What is it that causes a little bit of anxiety or fear? It's completely normal. The first time I bought my house, I was an agent and I was massively anxious. And so I get it. My wife was freaking out. That's the way it goes. So we really want to make ourselves available for the education portion as well, to have those conversations so that people not just take our word for it, but actually feel empowered and understand what they're doing and why.
Yeah, I just wanted to test to just for our listeners. Yeah, so I was a recipient of the VA loan. I did go ahead and got a VA loan, and I tell you what, it's one of the high. So for me, it was one of the best packages that I had gone through and used, because it was so easy to apply. For as a veteran, we don't have any down payment. 0% down payment. I know you guys already discussed this, but I'm just trying to attest to what Mark is saying. There was 0% down payment. A lot of the closing costs were covered. And not only that, if you have bad credit score, as a veteran using that VA loan, I'm telling you guys, it's one of the easiest things that I had gone through and applied and got approved for. And I had bad credit score. This was back in 2014 when I initially bought my home, and I sold it back in 2020 before I moved here. I bought my first home in Hawaii, and then when I moved here to Texas, I sold it in 2020, right before COVID, right before the bubble. So understandably, yeah, this one, and I can attest to that. Yeah, that's it. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for being here and spreading your message to our listeners.
Now, I like to give our guests the opportunity to ask us behind the love level any questions, because we like to kind of improve ourselves. Do you guys have any questions for us?
I can start out on that, Michael. Just a question. You and I worked together on the purchase of your home, and I believe Mark did too. Is that right? Yes. So you've had a chance to see our team and see how we work. Is there anything that stood out that you would like to tell everybody that made it different than what you thought it was going to be?
Now, for our listeners, I bought my house back in November 20. No, it was around the summertime, right? So
Yes.
in 2022 that I bought my home, and Dan was my realtor and Mark was my mortgage lender. So what made it very simple was I already had known Dan. I basically already trusted Dan because I knew who Dan was. And for me, I started off even trying to initially start the process of buying a house. There was a lot of anxiety, a lot of unrest, a lot of confusion because you wouldn't know what to do, right? But Dan made it very easy. He basically walked me through the process, applying for. I got the VA loan too, and Mark Moyes here. He made it very easy for me because I didn't have a excellent credit score, but he managed to help me get around a 4% on my interest for my VA loan. So basically my review is Dan and Mark made my home buying experience very simple because you can't remove all the stresses that comes with home buying, but you can put your trust on people to help your home buying experience simple, easy, and it was basically a breeze. There were some things that I didn't know, but Dan and Mark here, they made it very easy. I didn't have to do a lot of work on my side. So I really appreciate you, Dan and Mark, for helping me buy our home. We enjoy our home, and it's been a blessing for us.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. You were great to work with, by the way. Not that you needed that plug, but you were also easy to work with. And I'll tell you, you're only as strong as your weakest link on any team, really. And if you've got a tough lender that you're working with, or a tough realtor that you're working with, or a listing agent or seller or buyer, it can make the transaction really painful. And so thank you for being great to work with.
One question. Would you guys so I know you guys were helping out with the buying part, selling part. When I had gone through and sold my place in 2020, it was kind of a headache for me because I decided to do it on my own, FSBO, for sale by owner. And for me to get it onto the listings and stuff like that, I had to go through a broker. Do you guys do that as well? Services like that for people that want to sell their homes? That'll be interesting to know too. So for those that are listening and they decide, hey, I want to sell my home, would you guys be able to help?
Absolutely. We deal with all the parts of transactions for buying or selling homes. The one thing that's excellent for sellers to come in is we have a great program for them too that has some discounts like we're offering for buyers on their homes. But I think more than that, we offer the expertise that, as you said, it was stressful. You didn't know how to do things on it. We do things such as help staging to get the home ready to sell. Go through preliminary things, paperwork, so it's not a big surprise when you get an offer on your home. We just kind of, I don't want to say handhold, but kind of that. We kind of walk you through the whole system, and we try to take as much stress off as we can. As Michael said, we can't eliminate it all, but our goal is to get as much away from you as we can.
So for our listeners, how can they find you? Is there a link for them to come find you on social media, or is there a website, especially for our veterans and military out there who want to be part of this program?
Yeah, so we have a link to a very short webinar. It's about 5 minutes long that just goes over a little bit more in depth what the program is. So whether it's signing up for that webinar, it's an on-demand webinar. It's not any fluff. It's just the info, exactly what you need, specifically who it's for. I know that we talked about veterans, but it just goes a little bit more in detail. And then for more information, you can contact Dan directly or Mark. They can provide their phone numbers. But I would start with that really simple, easy, digestible webinar, less than 5 minutes. And then you'll have all the information that you need to get started.
Now, to our listeners, I will post the link on the description of this episode, but I want to acknowledge Dan, Mark, and Tony. Thank you very much for supporting our veterans. And I want to shout out that Frontline Heroes is also a sponsor for our Pacific Island Veterans Day dinner. So we truly appreciate you guys for helping us out and making this event memorable for our veterans and giving them a complimentary dinner. So truly appreciate you guys.
Thank you for having us. It's been a good time. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for your service as well.
Thanks, Michael.
Now, thank you for tuning into this episode of Behind the Lava. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow our podcast, drop a comment, and leave us a review. This is Michael Tan and the team signing off from Behind the Lava. Tofa Soifua.
Working on my interests, it's who I am. I'm trying to make these digits look like EINs. When the help ain't free, you all help me. Salute to folks who turn their names to LLCs. The wealth is in itself to help a non-profit. To be better women or better men, whether business by veterans or common folks with a dream. We're all born with the same strength. We tread waters that were untouched. Let's be on the same wavelength. Behind the lava, front of our eyes. Let our legacy live off it when we're up in the sky. All signs point to us to help someone make a difference. With God as my witness, let's talk business.